As the dawn of another school year approaches, officiating is an issue across the world of interscholastic athletics across the country, but specifically our inland sports coverage area. Joining us at lunch during the gathering of Officiate California is Matt Arellano, past president of the IFOA, the Inland Football Officials Association. Matt, summer for you guys is about putting training materials together, but also about trying to get the numbers up. I know you guys have been struggling. Everyone's been struggling. How has that effort been going this year?
It's been better than years past, I will let you know. We had a concentrated effort last season that we just started, honestly, to try and get better outreach through a variety of means. Social media is always one of the things, but that's not super successful, but it does give us a little bit. We've been trying to reach out to the local schools as well. That's been kind of where we've sought out most of our new officials this year. We're trying to make active. We're trying to be more active talking to athletic directors and coaches specifically to try and just for those graduating seniors, for those kids who won't be playing next year, try and get them have them realize that they can still play a part in athletics, and this is probably the best way to go about doing it. And that actually is where we've drawn most of our people from. So we're better than we have been in the past, but it's still a struggle.
So, taking a look at the master schedule this year, 142 games on Thursdays and Saturdays. A little concerning for you guys?
Well, for a variety of reasons, yes. I mean, let's be frank. This is strictly a numbers thing. Everyone wants to play on Friday nights, obviously, right? We want to officiate on Friday nights. It is very much a strain for us who have to work multiple nights a week. You have some officials that are working Thursday afternoon, Thursday night, Friday afternoon, Friday night, and then Saturday night. Like, that's just, at some point in time, there's burnout that's going to happen. So, and that happened. We got a lot of comments about that last year. So it's not something we're looking forward to. But unfortunately, like at the point right now, like everyone wants to play. There's only getting more schools, and there's only a certain number of officials that are now there. We're better than we were last year again, but we're still down. So it's strictly a numbers thing that's forcing us to have people play on different nights, unfortunately.
Is the addition of girls flag football in the fall another concern for the association? Having some of those bodies that work 8 and 11 man now jumping over to girls flag?
Not as much as you would think. Yes, it does. It's more of a strain, but the vast majority of people that are going to be working girls flag football, they want to, for one. So they're the people that would want to work all those games anyway. There's not actually, in our area specifically, there aren't that many schools that are adopting girls flag football right this season. Like the Southwestern League hasn't informed us that they're going to do it. San Bernardino isn't going to do it. So we're only talking about a smaller amount of one. So that's not as much of a strain as you would imagine. And we've also been told that a lot of those games will be taking place, they could take place on the same nights as tackle football. They're going to be on Mondays and Tuesdays as well, so different evenings. It's still like you're still asking officials to work multiple nights a week, so that could be tough, but most people are on board with that.
San Diego lost 35 officials, I believe it was, over the offseason. Is there concern in the inland group that a loss of that many officials and crews could really hamper things?
It's always a concern. One thing they noted today, especially is just, if you look at the room there, I'm one of the youngest people there, right? And we're an aging group. We are not replenishing with people who are younger. So that's always a concern when older people either decide to not work with us or move or for whatever reason not participate anymore. It's always a concern for us, which is why we made it even more of a concerted effort to try and help our own individual recruiting pitch, and specifically going after younger people to try and bring them in the mold and try and hopefully keep them for a long time.
Do you feel like the recent, the pay increase that's going to start this year, along with some of the legal protections and legislation that CIF State has worked into the bylaws, will help with some of those efforts to deal with, bad sportsmanship, bad parents, bad fans, and want to keep some of these officials officiating?
Well, actually, the fee increase started last year. The only reason I know is on the committee that helped propose some of that for the football officials. But yes, obviously that's going to help. Making more money is great, obviously. A couple years ago we were making about $80 a game. It's a little bit more than that, but and now that we're finally kind of getting more appropriately compensated, and we will continue to be so, that's obviously a draw. Money always helps. But yes, knowing that we have the backing of CIF, that they will support us if something really truly bad does happen, that is another very big draw. Now, it's not going to, for those bad actors that are going to be out there, they're still going to be bad actors. So that's still something we're going to face. But at least knowing that there will be some teeth coming should something really bad happen. That is, all of it helps. And yes, we're very happy that it's there now.
For the young, a lot of the younger crowd, like for me, when I got out, my issue was a full-time job. What would you say to those bosses that are holding, employees under their supervision back from officiating and getting involved?
You have kids? I'm sure you have kids, right? If you don't have kids, then maybe you might not understand. But vast majority, if you have kids, they need good officials. And if they're good enough to work for you, imagine how good they could be helping out your kids. And not and I don't that's what I would say to an individual. I literally would like. But in the more broad sense, if they're a good employee and they want to do this and they're going to be good at that as well, they're not only helping your family, they're helping out the local community. The vast majority of them, there's some sort of athletic involved, which is helping their own mental health. To be stuck in a job for an entire I'm a teacher. I love every second of it. But to be able to go and transition and do something different it's refreshing. When I was in a desk job prior to becoming a teacher, it was me being able to get out of my desk and go do something and be active only helped me. These are things that can only help any individual boss. I would be elated if I was in that position. I would be elated if as long as they're obviously getting their work done. Let's be honest. That should take precedence. If you're doing your job and you want to do something off on the side and you can make the time for it and it's not going to be a detriment, I can only see it as being some sort of an advantage.
Talk about your journey in officiating specifically. You handle two sports, football and basketball, and you've worked your way up the ranks in both. Talk about just the aspect of that, being able to work at the higher levels and how quickly somebody can get there if they put the time in.
I don't know if I'm the best example for that. So all right, so I started. I was an athlete in high school, but I'm 5'8". I was never going to be a professional athlete, right? But I'm still athletic. I still like to do things. After my first year of college, my dad literally was like, "Hey, why don't you still like doing stuff? Why don't you go referee?" Uh, he was a coach and he did officiate some on the side, so it just kind of was a natural transition. And as soon as it was basketball is where I started. As soon as I stepped on the court, it was just like, this is wonderful. It's fantastic. At the time, I made $45 to do a freshman basketball game. Well, my roommate was working 8 hours at McDonald's, and I made more than him in an hour and a half, right? And it's the greatest bug in the world. And then what happens is if you really, it's something I was passionate about, I still am very passionate about. I want to be great at anything I do. I don't want to be mediocre at anything. So if you're anyone who's willing to put the time and effort in, you can be incredibly successful. Now I just turned 41. I've literally been doing this since I was 19. There's over 20 years. I've put in a lot of time, where a lot of people are getting started at my age. So that's kind of the thing. I've put in a lot of time to get to where I feel I've been pretty successful, and I'm really happy with where I've gotten. But probably the hardest pill to swallow was that it didn't happen as fast as I wanted to. Like, I remember my second year, I go to a basketball camp, and like, I'm going to get hired into college basketball, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen until a few years, actually. So there is the it not happening immediately, which there are more opportunities now. That's the one thing. It's like, so you don't have to wait as long as I will. But the opportunities are there for anyone who really wants to like dive in and actually take this thing seriously. More opportunities than were there when I was around 20 years ago. In fact, they mentioned that. Carl Cheffers was the NFL referee was saying right now how when he was in his third year, he got his first varsity assignment, and there was an uproar. Nowadays, if you sign and pay your fees, you're probably working varsity the very first week of the season, right? So for anyone who really wants to give it a go, who really wants to who loves it and wants to dive head first, you have the world in front of you. And it's a really fun one too, I might add.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I remember that from my years in volleyball. So for those folks looking to join the Inland Football Officials Association for next year, I assume it's too late for 23-24, but for 24-25, let's get those folks the information they need to get started.
Well, first of all, if you want to, we still have a week if you want to come. Our clinic is next Saturday, the 6th. I forget which day it was. Now, hold on, let me check. Sorry. Next Saturday is when our actual first meeting takes place. So yes, Saturday, August 5th, You have until then to sign up. Inlandfootballofficials.com is where our website is. That's for our local association for football. There's a membership tab you can pull down. All the instructions are there, as well as contact information for anyone on the board, including myself. If anyone wants to reach out, let's say even if you weren't in our area, obviously if you are in our area, we would love to have you. But even if you're not, we can get you in touch with the right people so that you can participate. We're not. This isn't some turf war where if you live in Ontario, we want to pull, like that's not what we're going for. We just want people to work. This is a national thing. This is something we want everyone to. So inlandfootballofficials.com. If you want to come along, feel free to. You're welcome to pay your fees up until the date of the clinic. You can get in contact with any of us. I've talked to several people today. I can get you information personally. And also, if you're interested in any other sport, I do football, but I also am involved with basketball, and I know all the other assigners in any other sport. I can get you in contact with anybody. So if anyone wants, if you're even remotely interested, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'll be happy to assist anyway.
All right, Matt, thank you for your time. We appreciate everything that the officials groups do for us, allowing the student athletes to play and get out there on the fields of competition and the courts and so on and so forth. We look forward to a great 23-24 season on the gridiron and on the hardwood when we reach November.
Awesome. Me too.